be multiplied and scattered like the leaves of autumn. These silent messengers are enlightening and molding the minds of thousands in every country and in every clime. The message of truth is to go to all nations, tongues, and peoples. Its publications, printed in many different languages, are to be scattered like the leaves of autumn.
Today is a direct fulfillment of prophecy. Every possible medium is being used to spread the message of truth. When the people do not come to the evangelist to hear the word, the evangelist takes the word to the people, using the marvelous mediums of mass communication. Our television program, Faith for Today, reaches millions right in their living rooms. The local pastor carries to the listener in his parish life-giving words of devotion by means of radio. He joins the Voice of Prophecy network broadcasters in channeling interest through the Bible Correspondence School. Others can be reached only by the Christian doctor or nurse. The army of faithful laymen win thousands to Christ every year using audiovisual aids. Oldest of all our denominational activities and giving support to each of these others is the graphic arts industry, printing, publishing in its many forms. Inspiration designed that the Review and Herald should be located in Washington, D.C. Capital of the nation and indeed of the world, it is the seat of social and political culture and influence. Mrs. White saw that if our books and periodicals bore the imprint of Washington, D.C., it would be seen that we are not afraid to let our light shine. Accordingly, the work developed rapidly after the move in 1903. By books and periodicals, the name of the Review has been carried into every town and hamlet in America, and even to the uttermost parts of the earth. These are the two great ingredients of the publisher's art. Paper, more than 1,400 tons of it per year. Thousands of miles of paper in great rolls and large sheets. And ink in all colors of the rainbow, plus black. In 1 year, we used 20,000 pounds of thick, sticky, powerful ink, mightier than the sword. Much prayer, the toil of many minds and hands, and many machine and man-hours go into the manufacture of these finished periodicals and books. How these products, so familiar to thousands, are published is the subject of this story. The Review and Herald is a busy place these days, going about its several tasks of proclaiming a life-giving message. This is Harvey A. Morrison, the general manager. Before we look into some of the many activities, perhaps you'd like to meet a few of the other folks whose leadership and dedication make the Mother Publishing House one that is respected in the community and throughout the world. The treasurer is Clarence Palmer. R.J. Christian is the manager of the periodical department. He heads a large staff of people who handle the circulation and promotion of the various journals and also audiovisual aids. Associate manager of the periodical department is Paul Douglas. Representing Life and Health to its many advertisers and their agencies, J.R. Hanna. Life and Health's field representative in the person of S.L. Clark. The other departmental field representative and associate manager is J.M. Jackson. Loved and admired by all who know his pen, preaching, and personality, the editor of the church paper, the Review and Herald, F.D. Nickel. Elder Nickel is the editor of the Seventh-day Adventist Bible Commentary, the largest publishing venture the denomination has ever undertaken. Associated with Elder Nickel is a veteran writer and speaker. For many years a missionary in China, Frederick Lee. The newest member of the Review and Herald staff, assistant editor of the church newspaper, Kenneth Wood. Walter Crandall, as editor of the Youth's Instructor, is a young people's favorite everywhere. Our youngest editor is Don Yost, assistant editor of the Instructor. Ebullient and effervescent, vigorous J. DeWitt Fox, M.D., is editor of Life and Health, the National Health Journal. Blazing a trail into the hearts of juniors is Pathfinder leader Lawrence Maxwell, editor of the Junior Guide. Turning now to the book department, the author of I Love Books. Here is the manager, J.D. Snyder. D.A. Bailey, associate manager of the book department, spends much of his time with the constituency. He is a jolly man among books. The faithful book department staff does its sales work with the leadership of Hugh Forker, associate manager, and Bill Dixon, assistant manager, nearest the camera. Merwin Thurber, the book editor and secretary of the book committee, has participated in the publication of more than 400 books during his 18 years of editorial service. His associate, H.M. Tippett, has shared in this responsibility for 10 years. The copy readers work in close relationship with all the editors. They polish manuscripts, watch for infinitives that are split, and participles that dangle. Mrs. Clymer is in charge. Volume after volume of reference is near at hand in the adjoining library, aiding the editors in their frequent search for information. Promise Sherman, editorial secretary, here uses the big dictionary. Miss Neufer is a member of the editorial staff under Elder Nickel, gathering material prepared by the more than 30 Bible scholars contributing to the 7 great volumes of the commentary. These are the associate editors: Raymond F. Cottrell, theologian and outstanding teacher of Bible subjects; Don F. Neufeld is reading a facsimile of the oldest extant Hebrew manuscript, a part of the book of Isaiah, one of the Dead Sea Scrolls discovered in 1947. This was referred to frequently in the preparation of the commentary. Let's glimpse now into the production planning department, where the factory foremen meet to ensure the smooth flow of production through the plant. In front of the job control board stand Roland Dower, press room foreman, and the factory superintendent, Virgil Clymer. The beauty of the printed page begins in the art department. Here the art director, T.K. Martin, is describing the assignment for an illustration to Russ Harlan, the well-known Review and Herald artist. After much research, the artist is ready to pose his models. From the wardrobe of many biblical costumes, an appropriate one is selected and made ready for the model. In this instance, Mr. Quaid, another Review and Herald artist, is being dressed to represent Persian King Cyrus. Models are chosen according to their ability and fitness to represent the subject desired. The posing and photographing of models in the spacious, well-equipped studio is preliminary to final artwork on the picture. The camera quickly catches a precise gesture or expression without tiring the model for the many hours necessary to paint the picture. The photograph is merely an aid to the artist as he works. Quickly the photograph is taken, the negatives developed, and the print dried, ready for the artist. The talented artist gives the painting depth and meaning by adding the right color of the skin, by changing the shape of the nose or chin, by adding a beard typical of the period, by painting in furniture and background setting. With deft strokes of his brush, The artist makes the painting an authentic and colorful illustration. Russ Harlan is a great-grandson of the first Seventh-day Adventist foreign missionary, J.N. Andrews. Russ discusses his painting of Daniel and Cyrus with his father, Sanford Harlan, Associate Art Director, who has been with the Review and Herald since the days in Battle Creek. Together, father and son have devoted a total of 77 years to the publishing work of the Lord. The picture which we saw being created appears in Volume 6 of the Bible Story by A.S. Maxwell. When an original painting by Harry Anderson arrives, it is eagerly opened. His pictures are of the highest quality of illustrations to appear in Review and Herald publications. Here is a recent original by Mr. Anderson. Naaman the Leper in the Jordan. You'll find this in Volume 5 of the Bible Story. The layout men are the architects of the printed page. This is Bill Medvey. Their layouts are followed in every operation until the product is printed. Bill Anderson lays out the youth's instructor and life and health. Bob Sheldon's clever pencil designs advertising and special color issues. Many problems of illustration are easily solved by a versatile Lester Quaid. Once the pictures have been prepared and the layout finally okayed, they must be converted into a mechanical form that will enable the illustrations to be transferred in black and white or color to the printed page. This is done in the Engraving Department. Now the work of the factory begins. In the Engraving Department, Vern Engelberg, the foreman, directs the work of the many skilled technicians. There are many interesting and varied operations which take place in this phase of the printing art. A unique combination of photographer, artist, chemist, and metalsmith is the engraver in his work. Only very recently the industry has seen rapid advances in engraving techniques and methods. It would be difficult to show the complete manufacture of all the various kinds of engravings that the Review and Herald employs. We shall deal with two of the newest types. Because it is less expensive than lead, also because it is lighter and easier to store, plastic is being used to make flat press plates. While being timed accurately for several minutes, the mat or mold is first baked or cured in an oven. The final plastic printing plate will, in turn, be cast from this mat. Now for the fabrication of the printing plate itself. Powdered vinylite is the main substance of the plastic plate-making process. Within the oven, the plate is subjected to a temperature of 280 degrees and a pressure of 500 pounds per square inch. This combination of heat and pressure produces a printing plate hard enough to outwear lead type. Press runs are thus extended by many thousand impressions. Plastic plates are fully as satisfactory as metal plates for most printing requirements and are used for printing text, line drawings, and halftones. 4 separate page plates are here made in one molding operation. They are cut apart to form the individual single-page plates, and after finishing by a router, are ready for service. This is the age of color. To reproduce the beautiful full-color paintings such as we saw in the art department, we turn now to the process known as offset engraving. This huge camera, so large that it is housed in 2 rooms, is called a color process camera. That is, it separates by means of filters the primary colors of a painting. The camera sees the red, yellow, blue, or black and photographs each one separately out of the original painting. Each color plate eventually becomes, as we shall see, a separate offset engraving which will print the red, yellow, or blue in proper relationship in the final reproduction. A dark room is at the back of the giant camera. It is here that the photographic plates are developed. Later, these plates will be used in making an offset engraving. Color correction by dot etching is done by an operation called staging. At this point, the plates are made to match with exactness the colors of the original artwork. The photographed image in the form of a positive film is called a printer. These are now laid out as they will appear on the printed page. There will be an engraving made for each of the primary colors and black. From this layout will be exposed the sensitized aluminum plate, which becomes the offset printing plate. Because the volume of light necessary for our camera would spoil the sensitized aluminum plate and therefore our story, we are showing only the preparation of the blue glass, employing a similar procedure. The blue glass is a sheet of vinyl plastic used for registering the 4 color plates. Care is exercised to get an even distribution of the sensitizing solution over the surface to retain the photographic image. This is accomplished by a whirling motion. At this point, the exposure is made, using a powerful arc lamp as the light source. The large sheet, having been exposed, is now developed, producing the final offset printing plate. It is now ready for the press. Our story next takes us to the composing room, where Ray Hill is the foreman. The text is set in type on one of the 7 linotype machines. As skilled fingers operate the keyboard, letters are formed from molten type metal. Modern, efficient automation is here applied as an operator punches the keys of the teletypesetter. When text is routine, speed is greatly increased by this machine. Perforations are made in a paper tape. Each pattern of holes selects the type character or the machine operation. This type is then fed into a linotype similar to the one shown being manually operated, but modified for high-speed automatic operation. One operator can attend to a number of machines. Thus, the rate of production is increased. A precision saw is used to cut the line slugs to length. The type is then ready to be placed in the galley. The final step is called page makeup, in which, using the layout as a blueprint, the type text and picture engravings are combined. Using a foot-controlled proof press, each galley is proofed, then checked with the original layout. Before the page is locked into a form for use on the press, however, one very important step must be taken. Working closely with the compositor is the proofreader. Mr. Crum is in charge of this activity. Here again is created the measure of superiority maintained by Review and Herald publications. Galley proofs are read, reread, and read again to check for errors and omissions. The roar of presses is music to the ears of every Seventh-day Adventist. Each of us can, no doubt, trace his knowledge of saving grace to the work of the press. Either directly or indirectly, all those who enter the kingdom of glory will give some measure of thanks to the faithful pressman. Many presses are especially suited to printing in color. Here are produced the attractive covers of some of our periodicals. The largest of our various presses is actually too big to photograph all at one time. But in the next few scenes you'll get some idea of the size of this 92-ton monster. It uses a huge roll called a web, containing about 6 miles of paper, 47 inches wide. The new roll is cemented to the end of the spent web, making it unnecessary to thread the press each time the rolls are changed. At the rate of about 9,000 impressions an hour, between 4 and 6 rolls are used daily. Above the press room floor, this monarch of the graphic arts rises to a height of 1 1/2 stories. Below, it rests on a network of pillars extending far deeper than the building foundations. Because it prints black and several colors simultaneously, this press is assigned to the production of Life and Health and Liberty magazines. The Sabbath School Worker and an occasional Special Review bear the imprint of its great cylinders. The high rate of operating speed makes it necessary to use gas-fired burners to eliminate bothersome static electricity and to dry the ink. More than just a big rotary press, this machine performs the additional operations of slitting the web into 2, 3, or 4 separate ribbons, which are then folded at the delivery end. The magazine at this point is complete, except for cover and trimming. Now we take a look at the offset press, which prints by the method already described earlier in our story. This is the largest of 3 offset presses. This is the feeder end of the press, which will print a sheet in full color as large as 42 by 58 inches. In 4 succeeding operations, the red, yellow, blue, and black inks are used to reproduce the attractive pictures in natural gradation of brilliant color. Now we put our heads inside the press, taking care to stay clear of whirling cylinders, and it looks like this. This is the delivery end. For reasons of economy, the lead type used in certain of the standard presses that we have seen is melted down after it has served its usefulness. The valuable metal is thus reclaimed. As the old line slugs are loaded into the 1-ton furnace, a small amount of new metal and some flux are added to purify the mass. The liquid molten metal is poured into a mold and quickly cooled into a solid, easily handled 23-pound bar called a pig. The pigs are stacked for storage until ready to be reused by the composing room. We'll return to the factory in a moment. Right now, perhaps you'd like to visit Mr. Dawson's office. His responsibilities are purchasing and personnel. Across his desk go requests for paint or painters, type or typists. Working with the foreman, he harmonizes job and applicant. Another of the activities closely allied with the production of the publishing house is the keeping of accounting records. The Treasury and Accounting Department, including the payroll section, does much of its bookkeeping with automatic IBM equipment. Greater efficiency is realized and much time is saved. The punched card is the medium by which inventories or monthly statements of accounts receivable are processed. For finding unit costs of production and various other data in dollars and cents. The cards pass through machinery which collates and sorts information. This tabulator, for example, is printing the name and number of the employee, recording deductions and other pertinent figures on payroll checks. The Review and Herald is proud of its maintenance department and its staff of skilled technicians directed by Elbert Pester. It boasts a modern, well-equipped machine shop for the repair of a disabled press or folder. Electricians maintain heavy industrial wiring and large motor control panels. In the carpenter shop, special furniture and cabinets are designed and built. Returning to the factory, you will remember that the presses printed the text on huge sheets of paper piled on skids for easy handling. We are now in the bookbindery, where the large sheets of printed material must first be folded to form the pages of a book. This is the largest of three great folding machines. The several pages of a book formed by folding these large sheets are called signatures. The signatures are compressed to squeeze out the air and make them more easily handled or bundled for future binding. Frequently, pictures or end sheets will be pasted to the signature. This operation is called tipping in. Since several signatures go to make up a complete book, they must be assembled in proper order. This is no simple matter. A gathering machine with almost human dexterity drops them in place on the assembly line, so that the book will be correctly page numbered and will read in sequence. Mr. Redmond, the bookbindery foreman, talks with one of the sewing machine operators. At this point, the loose pile of signatures, a potential book, is sewn together. As few as 4 signatures are stitched into the binding of a small book, but in the manufacture of modern medical counselor, for example, there are 62. Children's books are likely to get rough usage and therefore require a sturdy binding. Such books as the bedtime stories are therefore sewn on the side stitching machine, which uses heavy nylon thread. The binding is not as flexible as that in grown-ups books, but all types of markets must be considered. Now the book will begin to take on its final size and appearance. The rough edges must be trimmed off by the 3-knife trimmer. It shears all 3 edges of the book in one operation. Even though modern methods are used, the art of bookbinding dates back several hundred years. After the back has been rounded, strips of flexible fabric, and then liners, in turn, are securely fastened to the back of the book with a flexible glue. This gives strength to the sewing. This scene shows the work of the cover-making machine. Colored fabric is stretched over 2 sections of binder's board, tailored to fit, and cemented fast before leaving the machine. Perhaps you have wondered how the manufacturer set about to emboss those gleaming gold titles on a cherished volume in your library. Here you see the process. By means of special dies which are heated to a temperature of about 280 degrees, the book cover is printed under pressure. ribbons of foil are passed between the type and the cover. The pigment, in this case gold leaf, is transferred to the imprint. The two major parts of the complete book become a unit at this juncture. You are watching the intriguing procedure of putting the cover on the book. The operation is called casing in. Notice that the book comes up between paste rollers, taking the cover with it. Both end sheets are thoroughly covered with paste. The portion of the cover at the binding is left dry. Last year, the Review and Herald bindery processed over 900,000 books in this manner, the record year in book production. To ensure complete adhesion, the books are now placed under a press with a force of 2 tons. As 60 pounds per square inch of pressure are applied, attractive, well-designed, sturdy books are allowed to dry before inspection. The task of wrapping the books has been recently turned over to this gleaming new machine. The time required for wrapping the production run of the casing-in machine as compared to the old hand-wrapping method has been cut in half. It also labels the package and is capable of handling nearly all book sizes. Here on the other side of the wrapper we can show the endless belt as it delivers neatly prepared books ready for stock, ready for the sales room and your bookshelf. From the vast inventory of books with many titles, a shipment is prepared like this. The wrapped copies are packed in substantial wooden boxes. Often the shipment must make long journeys, as this scene indicates. Another complete bindery cares for the finishing of periodicals and special publications. After they come from the presses, the large sheets are cut to size or trimmed. Let's watch the fabrication of Life and Health magazine through the finishing steps to completion. This machine has folded the full-color cover of a current issue. 3 separate folders care for the various sizes of the journals. The mechanics of this machine are thrilling to watch. Frequently, the magazine component is one signature, but if more than one makes up the issue, it combines them. The machine's name reveals its purpose. The stitcher trimmer is fed at 3 sources. This is the first signature. Now the second is added, and then the cover. We are now on the bucket feeders side of the line, where we can get a closer look at the stitching or stapling operation. Now the National Health Journal turns the street corner and heads for the sharp blades of the trimmer. Trimmings tumble down a chute into the basement, are baled and sold as salvage. The finished magazine, whose purpose adds life to your years, and years to your life. Let's go to the periodical list room where efficient ladies translate your periodical subscription order into a name and address on the lists. Twice a day, many hundreds and sometimes thousands of orders are received. They are immediately dispatched to the clerk responsible for a particular journal or combination of magazines. It is here that subscriptions are entered and the obligation assumed to send you the journals for a prescribed length of time. Expiration notices must be sent. Subscriptions must be extended in accordance with the liability due a reader. Here, the importance of the great Advent movement is felt very keenly. As you view the multiplicity of the list clerk's duties, perhaps you can understand their common plea for subscribers to send in prompt and accurate changes of address. Her dedication is that this literature will find you where you live, and thus keep you constantly informed of the activities of the Church and the progress of the Gospel Commission. Little aluminum addressograph plates are used to print your name and address on the label or wrapper which brings you your magazine. One or several of these little plates may be yours if you subscribe to one or more of the 12 publications of the Review and Herald. Every Seventh-day Adventist family should have at least one addressograph plate, the one that reserves for you every week your copy of the church newspaper, the Review and Herald. Alphabetically arranged in order by states, cities, and names within cities, an expiration, a new subscription, or a change of address is quickly cared for. In the mailing room, most individual subscriptions are mailed by wrapping. This is the wrapper printer, which at this speed prepares wrappers for the entire Review subscriber list in about 8 hours running time. As you can see, this wrapper will send the Review to a subscriber in Texas. The next step is wrapping. This girl is one of a dozen or so whose efficient fingers fly very rapidly through the work. If your journal arrives late, it could be the mail. Many of the different publications are shipped in clubs, that is, several copies for one address. The magazine is less expensive this way, since they are not individually wrapped. This tying machine never ceases to fascinate the visitor. Yes, it even ties the knot. The familiar mailbag, property of Uncle Sam. Shortly now, he will take over. Twice each workday of the week, the mailbags are loaded. Our own publishing house van delivers our product to the second-class section of the Central Washington, D.C. Post Office. Words of truth for all the world to read. Eternal words. News of a soon-coming Savior. In the few moments that remain, we'd like to introduce you to the newcomer that has been added to the many fine services that the Mother Publishing House provides for the church. Audiovisual aids are a proven tool in the hands of a consecrated soul winner. The vast library of color paintings and photographs are the basis for the manufacture of inspirational pictures in the form of film strips and slides. Under the color camera, pictures come alive and give new impetus to the illustration of the truths of the Bible and today's warning message. Outside laboratories, especially equipped for the job, work in close contact with the audiovisual aid section. They use our master film strips and expose from them the many thousands of feet of beautiful color film. They develop it and process it, treat it with hardener and preservative, then return this footage for inspection and assembly. Film strips are cut from 1,000-foot reels by girls carefully trained in assembly methods. At no time do hands touch the picture area of the film, but handle the delicate footage only at the edges. Here you see a machine which, by the use of heat and pressure, binds color transparency slides in the familiar 2-inch by 2-inch cardboard mount. The machine, by precise adjustment itself, regulates the amount of heat, pressure, and timing required for a permanent seal. An encyclopedia of over 4,000 religious and doctrinal pictures is offered to the evangelist or the layman, and the figure is growing all the time. The magnetic sound tapes which accompany the Bible studies on film must be reproduced faithfully from a master tape. On this equipment, 9 double-track tapes are copied electronically from the original, which was made under the most ideal studio conditions. Running at 15 inches per second and duplicating both soundtracks simultaneously, 9 hours of playing time on tape is produced every 15 minutes. To supply the active layman and the church at large with high-quality, late-model, substantial, and efficient audiovisual components, the Review and Herald markets through the book and Bible houses a variety of the most popular makes of tape recorders, projectors, and screens. Here you see one day's shipment of audiovisual home Bible study combinations of equipment. It is packed in sturdy wooden shipping boxes, destined for all parts of the world field. Finally, artist or amateur, choosing black light materials from the widest selection available, can, with these chalks, paints, and papers and cutouts, design thrilling presentations of lasting impression. The miraculous development of the Christmas cactus, as recorded by the lapse time camera, well represents the unfolding miracle of the publishing work of the remnant church, born in poverty and nourished by prayer, faith, and work. Today, as millions of pages of truth-filled literature pour from presses dedicated to the service of God, and ever-increasing numbers of agencies are ordained to preach His Word, we are led to proclaim, surely here is a prophecy fulfilled, a vision come true.